So, for the cold open today, I just wanted to give y'all an update on America's literally crumbling infrastructure.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, it was just reported today that in Detroit on May 9th, so like a fucking week ago, this dude was walking on this like footbridge over over M10, one of the highways in Detroit, to get to Comerica Park to watch a Tigers game. Right?
He's just walking.
He's walking. He's walking until he wasn't, because the fucking concrete in the bridge collapsed under him and he fell 15 feet, 6 feet away from the highway.
Oh my God.
Bro just fell through a fucking bridge in Detroit.
Did he live?
Yeah, he's chilling now.
Okay.
He said he's just a walking bruise. But what the fuck?
Oh my
God. And
God.
then apparently the incident wasn't reported to like the transportation authorities until today. Like, what is it,
God,
the
bro.
15th or 16th today?
Imagine living in the richest country in the world.
Literally.
Walking in the city that you live in, and the ground falls from underneath your feet.
The ground literally crumbles beneath you, and you fall 15 feet.
It's first world problems, baby. Like,
like, where's that infrastructure money?
Yeah.
Where's it going to? Come on now.
Oh my
Where's
God.
that historic infrastructure package that Pete Buttigieg was talking about on the Breakfast Club the other week?
yeah.
Come on
He says,
now,
we
please.
live a historic investment in America's crumbling infrastructure.
Roads, bridges, and rails. Why did this bridge literally fucking crumble?
That's a Biden voter lost. That's a Biden voter lost. How are you going to campaign to him? How you gonna sell this dude or any of his family members, any of his friends?
Or maybe you will sell specifically this dude, because he's like, fuck, America's infrastructure literally crumbled beneath me.
True.
You know?
Maybe Biden can use this guy, right? He can go door to door and say, look what happened to him. We got to make sure it never happens to anyone else.
You could just be fucking walking and then the ground crumbles beneath you.
You could just,
like the rapture just opened up and it's the second coming of Jesus Christ.
This guy survived, but you could literally be walking on a bridge over a highway and fall to your death.
Yeah.
Do you want that to happen to you? Well, you got to vote me back in to make sure that I do absolutely nothing on infrastructure.
Vote for me or literally fucking die.
True.
Good shit.
I support that message.
Good shit.
Unironically. Welcome back to the show, everyone.
What's good?
Welcome
Another
back
week,
to
a new episode.
The Head in the Office podcast. Your one-stop shop.
Oh.
For everything geopolitics.
A number one geopolitics stop.
Exactly.
The number one non-geopolitics stop.
Just domestic politics.
Domestic, that's the word I was looking for.
Policy analysts. Number one stats podcast.
Cultural critics.
Exactly. Everything you need.
Cool dudes.
Right.
Yeah.
One-stop shop for everything you need. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show. On today's Ledger, we got to talk about the Buffalo shooting in New York.
Yeah.
We got to talk about a little bit of an update on abortion news. We got a little section on elections.
General election updates. Lots of midterm news coming around.
And we'll end on talking about the Starbucks union.
Oh, yeah. There's some fun news to come out of that one.
Exactly. But before we get into it, I'm going to remind you all. Check out the Patreon. Check out the Discord. Check out the YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You can find us everywhere, every social media. Just type in Head in the Office.
Every single one of them. I'm once again asking you, please, there's like 1,000 of you that listen every fucking week. But we've only got like 190 followers on Instagram.
Right. What's up with that?
What's the deal? We only have like 130 followers on Twitter. We tweet pretty frequently.
We be posting funny stuff, informative stuff.
Again, you can try and guess. Oh my God, I wonder who tweeted this. It's like a little fun game, you know?
We've been posting funny and informative stuff. We be shit posting
all the time.
If you want to, if you listen to the podcast and you like the takes that you hear, you think our jokes are funny, you like listening along, then you'll love what we post on social media.
You'll love our Instagram
because
stories.
that's like midweek before the next pod comes out, fresh takes coming right out of our brains.
I pop off on the Instagram stories.
Exactly.
I literally make fun of Donald Trump Jr. I just make fun of people on the stories.
You want to be there.
It's fun. It's a good time.
So go check it out. Consider becoming a patron. You can listen to every episode early.
So true.
Every episode early,
like
at least
3 days
2 days.
Early. At least 2 days.
Sometimes we be fumbling the bag. But most of the time, it's going to be 3 days early.
Facts.
We also got more exciting stuff coming up.
That's true.
Check it out.
Hop in the Discord for some fun community content. Talk with everybody. Meet some new leftist friends.
Exactly. But if that's too much for you, but you do want to support the pod somehow, you can go to Apple Podcasts, regardless of if you listen on Apple or not. You can go to Apple Podcasts and you can leave a 5-star review for the show.
You can make a fake account.
You could.
You could.
And if you leave a 5-star review, we're going to read it on the pod.
We will.
Just like we're going to do right now.
Ooh, let me start this off with
Okay.
Boo Dragon X's review. My go-to. My brothers in Christ, your takes are fresh and help me take on this toxic sludge we call the news. Keep up the good work. We'll try.
Oh, yeah, we will try. Next review here, subject line, High Point of My Week by Brian with a bunch of E's in the middle.
Ooh.
They say, I found Jeremy and Gage through TikTok, and it's become my favorite podcast right now. Jeremy and Gage are both so fun and informative to listen to. It really brings me a lot of joy whenever they come back with a new episode. That's what we're doing right now.
Wow.
That's what we're doing right now. I became a patron on their Patreon, and I can't wait for these two guys to get the recognition they deserve. That's what I'm saying.
One of our financial backers right here.
That's what I'm saying. I can't wait to get the recognition that I deserve.
Yeah, that I personally deserve.
I'm doing this for attention. Why am I not getting it? Last review we have today, subject line, sending you to my grandparents.
Oh.
By D-Hugh Gugu. They say, since Fox News completely ruined my grandparents, I've been sending them your videos so you can slowly infiltrate their mind and make them better people. Thank you for all that you do. I love you both.
That's crazy. To see it.
Imagine just like a grandma.
I feel like they'd have a heart attack.
If you're a grandma listening to Head in the Office, a grandpa, stick around.
Exactly. Come on.
Get your friends on the studio, or get your friends listening to the pod.
You could pop like a butterscotch.
Exactly. Your friends that you play checkers with
in the nursing home.
Or you can play bingo with.
Gather together.
Your friends that you meet for like 6 a.m. for like a brunch
for
kind
the
of situation.
early bird breakfast.
Exactly.
You know?
Get them on the pod.
You could pop a hard candy.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
Get them listening to the pod. You won't regret it.
You could take us in as your grandchildren and, slip us like a 5 every time we come around.
Exactly.
That's all I'm going to say.
All right, getting into the news coverage.
Yeah.
First off, not a good news story.
Starting off with not a banger this week.
Terrible news story. Trigger warning for gun violence if you're susceptible to that kind of stuff. We're going to try to stay away from the gory details on this, but obviously we got to talk about it a little bit. But we're going to try to focus on the underlying critique of the situation here. But you know what we're talking about. It's the Buffalo, New York mass shooting, white supremacist mass shooting even.
Oh, yes.
Very. So this past Saturday afternoon, I believe, Peyton Gendron, who is a white 18-year-old, went into Tops Friendly Market grocery store in Buffalo, New York, and he opened fire and shot 13 people and killed 10. 11 of the people that were shot were black, and this has been determined to be a racially motivated hate crime. Because he intentionally traveled to a black neighborhood, traveled hours to a black neighborhood. He intentionally
traveled to the zip code in upstate New York that had the highest density of black people. I believe it's 78%.
Something like that.
Just to do this. He'd have 3.5 hours.
Yeah, and he intentionally targeted black shoppers. There's been a video clip going around of him accidentally aiming at a white guy that was like cowering in the store. And then he goes, "Oh, sorry," and walks away.
Like,
which
what
is just fucking insane. Yeah, absolutely insane. He also wrote a manifesto online.
It's like 180 pages or some shit like that.
Some nerd shit.
On God.
He wrote a manifesto online that explains how he became radicalized by 4chan and that he believes in the Great Replacement Theory, which if you don't know, not a long-time listener, Great Replacement Theory is this idea that Jewish people or immigrants or people of color or other ethnic and racial minorities are somehow infiltrating the United States or infiltrating the white culture and trying to replace white people and become the dominant racial group or ethnic group and force white people to become second-class citizens. That's the idea.
Exactly.
Is that white people are being replaced.
If you're thinking that sounds like Nazi shit, it's because it literally is. And you can hear it spouted almost every single day on Fox's #1 cable news show, Tucker Carlson Tonight.
And also, along with that theory, is this idea that action needs to be taken, which is the key component. Which, again, as Gage mentioned, it's some actual Nazi shit. It's what Nazis use to encourage their people to take action. Because if you believe you're being replaced, how are you not going to take action?
Exactly.
If you genuinely believe that.
Like, fuck, if you're fearing for yourself, your identity.
Exactly. But right now, officers have him in custody. So he's been caught, which is good.
Took him in custody very nicely.
Very calmly, of course.
Very calmly.
He's a white guy.
Exactly. He was very nicely taken away in handcuffs. You know how it went.
And at this time, not all of the victims are known, but we can confirm, like I said, that they were just targeted because they were black. They literally were just shopping. And it was purposeful. It's purposeful. Hate crimes. Hate crimes.
Love to see it.
So let's get into a little bit of the critique, though.
Okay.
Like a critique of the situation as a whole and how the media is responding to it. So, undeniably, I think everyone has accepted at this point that this was a terrorist attack motivated by white supremacy.
I don't know how you couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, everybody except for, oddly enough, right-wing pundits.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some people saying that he was motivated by, like, left-wing ideas, and we'll get into that, but, like, to further bolster the claim that is motivated by white supremacy, in his manifesto, he had said that he was inspired by the Christchurch shooter, which was literally a devout white supremacist that killed 51 people in New Zealand.
In his manifesto, he literally, like, in plain English, as plain as you can get, third grade English, said, yeah, I'm a white supremacist and an anti-Semite.
He said, yeah.
He admitted it. Like, he's proud to be that.
Yeah, he owned up to being a fascist. He was saying things like the white birth rate is dropping, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that, like, to correct for that, you need to take action against, like, black people and other people of color because they're evil. And also, of course, Jewish people are evil too.
Of course, they run the world, naturally.
No, that's, like, literally what he said, though. It's like Jewish people control everything. Like, just actual insane Nazi shit. Again, he also said he believes in white replacement theory or the great replacement theory, which, as Gage said before, echoes words by Tucker Carlson.
There was literally, I believe, New York Times dropped like a little study, little analysis that they did where they found that in almost every single program Tucker Carlson released, there's a little white replacement bit going on in there.
Yeah, and then Tucker Carlson famously took that newspaper and took a picture with the smiling.
That's an unhinged picture. Absolutely unhinged picture.
Like, bro's grinning ear to ear, cheesing.
He looks the happiest he has ever been.
Yeah. You've never seen him that happy before.
No,
and bro's
literally.
holding up a photo that says he is a white nationalist.
He absolutely loves it. He loves it so much. It's like how
ear to ear.
Steven Crowder tweeted something earlier. You know how fucking dumb Steven Crowder is, obviously, if you're a part of this audience. He tweeted something like, oh, okay, so it's we accept that it's racially motivated when a white supremacist goes and kills a bunch of black people, but what about when a black person kills a bunch of white people, like in Waukesha?
Something like that, yeah. I know what you're talking
however
about.
the fuck you pronounce it, where like a dude was trying to get away from the cops and rammed into like a festival and tragically killed a bunch of people, which he's a bad dude for that, but it's not racially motivated. And then he hashtagged it with hashtag white supremacy.
Yeah.
Like, what the
Steven
fuck,
Crowder's
dog?
doing the absolute most
What
to get
the
attention.
fuck? He's running defense.
Yeah, I love how Tucker Carlson on Twitter was like, or not Tucker Carlson, Steven Crowder on Twitter, he was like, he knew that this area had strict gun laws, so he intentionally targeted that area. That's why we need better gun laws, as if that's the problem in this situation.
No, literally. We'll talk about that like a little bit later, but it's the good guy with the gun myth. Like, he's just fucking stupid. Like, that's why he said that, because he's dumb and he believes that. The good guy with the gun thing is a myth for a reason. It doesn't actually fucking matter.
Yeah, and if you don't believe us on this Tucker Carlson stuff, of Tucker Carlson literally just being a Nazi, I got a quote here from Tucker Carlson. He said on his broadcast, again, one of the biggest, or the biggest in the nation for news.
It's the biggest cable news show.
Tucker Carlson said, quote, I know that the left and all the little gatekeepers on Twitter become literally hysterical if you use the term replacement, if you suggest that the Democratic Party is trying to replace the current electorate. The voters now casting ballots with new people, more obedient voters from the third world. So just spewing nonsense.
Wild.
Yeah.
I also saw there was another like little like media study thing done. I don't know if this one was New York Times or if it was The Daily Show, but they literally took Tucker Carlson quotes and like fucking David Duke or other Grand Wizard quotes, KKK Grand Wizard quotes, put them next to each other, and people could not identify which was which.
You talking about the Rolling Stone article?
It might have been that, yeah.
I got a little section on that coming up.
Let's
Stay
go.
tuned, everyone.
Okay.
Stay tuned, everyone. But I want to make an important point here, and I don't think I can say this any more clearly.
Yeah.
But this shooting and similar shootings that have happened and similar attacks that have happened is a direct result of this kind of rhetoric coming from right-wing officials,
it's
right-wing
stochastic
commentators. Terrorism. Yeah, no, that's what it is that these officials and right-wing commentators are claiming that the white race or our way of life or something along those lines is being taken away or being replaced. And this intentionally stokes fear and encourages terrorism and genocidal acts against minority groups.
Yeah.
Because, again, if you legitimately believe that your race is being replaced or that your way of life is being taken, what other course of action is there? Because they're saying in the same breath that voting isn't going to work, the Democratic Party is destroying everything, black people, minorities, Jewish people are taking away your life. What other course of action is there other than to attack violently? Yeah. Of course, they're lying to you.
Especially when
but that's the point.
Almost every fucking Tucker segment where he's talking something about great replacement theory is he ends it with, somebody has to do something about this. That's literal stochastic terrorism. Like, it can't get more textbook than that. And if you don't know what stochastic terrorism is, it's basically just when you use rhetoric to inspire someone to commit a terroristic act.
Yeah.
You don't directly say that someone should go and shoot up this place, but you introduce a problem with that place or the community surrounding that place, and you say, hey, something needs to be done about this. Somebody needs to go do something.
Yeah.
And then somebody gets it in their head. They're like, shit, you know what? I think I need to go do something like this fucking idiot.
It's a convenient way for officials and commentators to get their agenda across while abdicating any moral responsibility for the outcome of their actions.
They're ducking it.
And I'll give you another example. They're doing this against trans people right now. By calling all trans people groomers, by saying they're going to like destroy your way of life and I don't know, take the innocence away from your child. They're just openly encouraging violence against these people. But they get to dodge responsibility because they say, well, I never said you had to attack anybody. Obviously, that's bad.
Exactly.
But I understand why they're feeling this way. That's the danger of this kind of rhetoric.
I completely and wholeheartedly disavow this violence.
Yeah.
However, he's kind of got a point.
No, that's literally what this situation is, and all of these kinds of situations are. It's the same thing that happened with Charlottesville, the white supremacist rally that happened in Charlottesville during Trump's presidency. It's this type of situation where it's like something obviously horrible is happening, something obviously motivated by bigotry is happening, and the political commentators that low-key support this are saying like, well, of course that's bad. I condemn that. But I get where they're coming from. There's good people on both sides.
Exactly.
It's that kind of thing. That's what stochastic terrorism is.
I will never support violence, but
I understand why these patriots feel this way.
I understand why they're so angry, and it's because of the Democrats.
Yeah,
it's because of these radical liberals and leftists.
It's a good way of getting the most extreme parts of your agenda through without you actually having to do it. But you can take responsibility for, justifying those fears. You can earn all the political points you want from justifying those fears, but you can also say, well, I don't like violence.
Exactly.
Even though your rhetoric directly contributes to that violence. So, not great.
You love that.
Not great.
Love that. You love just having those discussions. Back to the whole good guy with the gun thing. I want to highlight, and just why it's a myth, I want to highlight this 2020 study done by the FBI that looked at all of the mass shootings from 2000 to 2013 and determined that only 3% of those shootings were stopped by a civilian with a gun. That's crazy. It's almost like the good guy with a gun thing doesn't fucking work and it's not reliable. And people like Steven Crowder pushing the idea that, oh my God, he went to this place because they had strict gun laws. New York has strict gun laws in general, yet this kid was able to get a gun. Another question that comes up about this when you consider his history. When you look at his history, he wasn't arrested, but he was taken into a mental hospital for a day and a half for evaluation, I think a year prior, because he made a general threat at his high school. And he also did his senior exit project about murder-suicides.
Yeah.
Which he got in trouble for. Yeah. And he was brought into a mental evaluation for that too. This is why red flag laws are important. He shouldn't be able to buy a fucking gun.
Yeah.
And that sparks a whole nother conversation about how gun laws in America are only as strict as the least strict law, because he went out of state to get a high capacity magazine anyway. Because, free travel, you can just go and do that.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about the good guy with the gun thing again, there was a good guy with the gun on the scene at Tops. The security guard actually shot at this fucking monster, and he hit him, but it bounced off his body armor.
Yeah.
It didn't fucking matter that he was a good guy with a gun. What the fuck?
Yeah, no, on the other side of the Steven Crowder type argument where he's like, well, he went to this place because he knew there were restrictive gun laws and people couldn't protect themselves. How the fuck did he get a gun then?
Exactly. Exactly.
Come on. He knew he came into this place with a gun because there aren't laws that would prohibit him from doing so. That's the other side of this.
It's almost like you could
argument.
Just go if he's going to drive 3 hours to go kill people, I'm sure he would drive further to even get a gun if he could. There's this great Daily Show segment. It's Jordan Klepper diving into the good guy with a gun myth. It's 10 minutes long. We'll maybe link it in the description. And it's really good just debunking the myth. That's where I got a lot of these stats from. And he talks about how in order to get his concealed carry license, all he had to do was apply online in Florida, because you don't have to live in Florida to apply for a concealed carry in Florida, right? You apply online, you come in and take a 3-page multiple choice test that's not even all multiple choice. It's got true false on there with some stupid fucking questions like, should you point your gun at people? No. False, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do that, you shoot a couple rounds at a target, and you get the permit that's now valid in 35 states.
Oh, great.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and it's like, we're not even anti-Second Amendment.
We're pro gun. I recognize that you're not going to be able to take guns away from people in this country.
Yeah.
But I also recognize that maybe not everybody should be able to get one, and maybe not everybody should be able to get a fucking automatic rifle.
No, yeah, this argument's fucking dumb because, like, generally I'm in support of the Second Amendment. I don't have a problem with people owning guns. But what's this argument? It's like, okay, so if we have one state where you can fucking roll around in a tank and other states where you can't, are we going to be like, oh, wow, this tank rolled into fucking New York City because other people can't own tanks? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you could take this argument all the way to the moon if you wanted to because it's fucking absurd.
Exactly.
Like, the answer isn't give more people guns. It's maybe we should educate people on why racism is bad and ensure that fucking freaks like this can't get their hands on weapons.
Exactly. That's why red flag laws are so fucking important.
Yeah. And I love, because, like, I mean, we're engaging with this argument even though it is a complete obfuscation of what's really going on, which is clearly a white supremacy problem.
Exactly. Obviously.
Yeah.
Just like making fun of people like Steven Crowder. Because they're stupid. And they should, unironically, they should be called out on being fucking dumb. Because the issue I have with so much like liberal discourse, so much centrist discourse, civility politics, is that a lot of people look to that Steven Crowder take and think, well, you know, he's got a point. We got to respect all sides of this. We really got to engage with the issue and look at it. Not all points should be respected.
No.
Not at all. That's a fucking stupid one.
Yeah. Especially because Steven Crowder and similar Steven Crowder types are only making this argument because they don't want to talk about the racial component.
Exactly.
Because if they acknowledge that, like, this was an act of white supremacy, they also have to acknowledge that this kid is on their side of the aisle, which they, of course, try to not acknowledge.
And they have to acknowledge that, maybe the shit I say had a part in this.
Yeah.
And even speaking to that, I saw Ben Shapiro going fucking crazy on Twitter, like, was Obama responsible for the police officers that got killed by some fucking dude in like 2014? No. No.
I don't think Barack Obama was saying crazy shit like police are trying to replace you.
No, Ben Shapiro's fucking argument was basically, I'm paraphrasing, this is from Twitter, I saw it earlier. His argument was basically, well, when Obama didn't condemn this person as a jihadist, it may not have directly inspired this crime, but it sure made it a lot hard for America to fight this. Coming from a guy who famously said, I think like 87% of Muslims are radical terrorists.
I love how he's drawing a connection between Obama not like explicitly condemning a terrorist and Tucker Carlson openly advocating for Nazi arguments.
It wasn't even like that. It was Obama not calling a Muslim a jihadist. It was Obama not calling a Muslim who committed a crime a jihadist.
Yeah.
Versus us saying, hey, maybe the words Tucker Carlson says have consequences. Yeah. Especially when the person who goes and commits a vile act directly cites shit like that.
Yeah, maybe the biggest political pundit in the fucking country shouldn't be saying Nazi things.
Exactly.
Like, that's what we're saying. Like
wow.
maybe when the biggest political pundit in the fucking country is giving Nazi arguments and fully believing in them every time he's on broadcast, maybe that has consequences. Maybe that radicalizes people. Maybe that legitimizes a certain frame of thinking that we probably shouldn't engage in.
But it's so fucking frustrating to have these conversations because then you get Ben Shapiro again on fucking Twitter or earlier tweeting, wow, the left is saying that any speech that they don't like is some shit and should be outlawed, basically. And it's like normies see that and they think, you know what? Yeah. But it's like, come on, guys, let's think a little bit deeper. This is why it's so fucking important to actually educate kids in schools.
Yeah.
And this is why the right's so-called like war on critical race theory and really just anything that teaches kids that maybe white people did bad things in the past is literally fucking killing people.
Yeah, no, it does have tangible impacts because if you look through this manifesto, you'd see that there's certain parts where he's talking about critical race theory and how terrible it is. Like, that is a mainstream Republican talking point that found its way into some manifesto of some kid that committed a fucking hate crime and killed 11 or 10 black people or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, come on, people. Our actions have consequences.
Let's critically think a little bit.
Our rhetoric has real-world implications, and if you're going to be extreme about it, it's going to get people killed.
Especially because some of the parts of his fucking manifesto that I read on Twitter, this dude is just dropping fucking N-word after N-word. It's fucking insane. It's shit that would make David Duke wince.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this guy saying, right? But it's just, the more we neglect to teach kids about how to just think critically about race, the more we're going to see shit like this happen. Mm-hmm. All of his ideas are built on the faulty foundation that white people are a fucking master race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
Right,
we don't teach kids.
Yeah, go ahead.
We don't teach kids anything. They aren't exposed to what the idea of a social construct is. Mm-hmm. There was not one time when I was in high school where we talked about, hey, maybe this thing is a social construct. Maybe gender is a social construct. You don't even have to say gender. You can just teach kids that, hey, sometimes there are things that we as a society believe that are simply rooted in us believing them as a society and have no tangible material effect.
Right.
If you just teach kids about that, they can start to understand things like how race is a social construct, how whiteness specifically is built on exclusion, and how ideologies like white supremacy are really just a race to the bottom when it comes to purity.
Yeah.
People talk about it all the time. It's like Irish people were not considered white when they came over here. There were plenty of people who were not considered white when they came over here. Chinese people were considered black.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's all a social construct, and you need to teach kids that so they can accurately engage with the world, and when they see something like this happen, they can accurately disavow it.
Yeah, no, and you know this is true. You know that whiteness is just a purity test because people that are 50% white, 50% black are still considered black.
Yeah.
The one drop rule existed.
Exactly.
If you had one drop of black, quote unquote, blackness within you, you weren't considered to be a white person. It's simply a purity test. And when you get into like fascist circles and far right groups, you know that whiteness is a purity test because it is always just becoming more and more exclusive. Literally. Like eventually, again, like you said, Irish people aren't considered white. Italians aren't considered white. Like you just keep going up and up until there's literally no one left in the whiteness group anymore. Yeah. It's self-destructive and self-contradictory in that way.
But that's an idea that I wasn't exposed to until college. And it's not because it's a liberal fucking college like conservatives want you to think. It's because I explicitly went out and took an honors course on social inequality.
It's not even just that. It's like I found motherfuckers on YouTube that would explain this stuff to me. Like, that's
I had to actively seek it out myself, and it was hard to like unlearn that.
Yeah,
because you don't think about it. The lines surrounding race are fuzzy. That's why it's a social construct. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
But maybe my favorite narrative for the situation is that the shooter was actually left wing.
Shut the fuck up.
Is that the shooter is actually a communist?
Wow.
I saw on Twitter the Quartering had said that. Because in the manifesto, the kid at one point said that he like originally looked into like the Communist Manifesto, communist theory and stuff. He's very invested as like a 15-year-old or whatever.
Okay.
And at one point he also said that the kid hates Fox News. So really, this shooter was actually a leftist that hates Fox News.
Wow, you don't like Fox News? You're a fucking Marxist, Leninist, Maoist.
Well, the thing is that this kid didn't like Fox News because Rupert Murdoch is a Jewish person. And the kid obviously doesn't like Jewish people.
He said it. That's not even us fucking theory crafting. He said it in the manifesto. He said, I am an avowed anti-Semite.
No, yeah, it's in there. He doesn't like Fox News because Rupert Murdoch is Jewish. Like that's why. Not because he disagrees with them. Not because him and Tucker Carlson are literally identical in their rhetoric, but because the owner of the company is a Jewish person and he thinks Jewish people control the world. Also, the Communist Manifesto part. It is true that in his little manifesto thing, he talks about communism, like for like one sentence. But in there, he also says something about being like a white supremacist, identifying as a fascist, saying the N-word a bunch of times.
Oh,
like, he's very clearly not on the left, big dog. And it's like, I know this because people on the same 4chan board that this kid was on, that the shooter was on, were saying that instead of just shooting up a random grocery store, he should have gone to a BLM protest or an abortion rally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you know that him and the people that think like him are very clearly not on the left.
I love how that 4chan board can just stay up. Yeah. I love how these 4chan threads that literally just breed hate and literally just cause mass shootings can still stay up.
Yeah, I mean, his ideology fundamentally is one of like race realism. This idea that there's like real differences between races that aren't just like arbitrary or like just like in the way that we look. You know what I mean? It's one that is violently transphobic because he talked a lot about trans people in there, which I don't need to remind you which party is transphobic, which side of the aisle.
Crazy how it seems like so much of his manifesto is just mirroring the shit that right-wing pundits talk about now.
Yeah. And I have a little test that we can do to really illustrate my point here on how he's on the right. I have a list of quotes.
Okay.
Some of them are from devout white supremacists. Some of them are just from Tucker Carlson.
Oh, okay.
Tucker Carlson, clearly on the right. No one would say that he's left-wing. No one would say that he's a communist.
Not a single person.
So I'm going to read these quotes, and Gage is going to try to decide if it's from Tucker Carlson or if it's from a white supremacist.
Excellent. I'm glad I didn't read that article.
So, all of these quotes are from this Rolling Stone article I found where they were basically doing this. So that's what we're doing here. The first one is, quote, "Every time they import a new voter, I become disenfranchised as a current voter." Tucker Carlson or a white supremacist?
I mean, fuck, you literally can't tell. I'd say a white supremacist.
That was actually Tucker Carlson.
I mean, it's not as if those two things are mutually exclusive.
Good point. I should say Tucker Carlson or another.
I should say you should guess if this is a white supremacist or a different white supremacist.
All right, next one. "Their political success does not depend on good policies, but on demographic replacement. They'll do anything to make sure it happens."
I feel like I literally heard that on Tucker Carlson's broadcast.
You probably have, because that was also in one of his books. So that one was Tucker Carlson as well.
I feel like these all are going to be Tucker Carlson.
The next one. "They are actively trying to disenfranchise us from the institutions our ancestors created."
I don't think Tucker Carlson knows big words like institutions, so I'm going to say a different white supremacist.
That was Nathan Domingo, the founder of Identity Europa, which is a white supremacist group.
Of course, Identity Europa? What the fuck?
The next one. "This is ethnic replacement. This is cultural replacement. This is racial replacement."
Tucker.
That was actually the Christchurch shooter in his manifesto.
Oh, wow. That's something Tucker. He had the cadence, he had the flow.
Yeah, I know. It's funny how they seem so similar.
He really bit his whole flow with that one.
The next one. "The Democrat Party will own America, and they know it. They have already begun the transition by pandering heavily to the Hispanic voting bloc."
Tucker.
That's actually the El Paso shooter in his manifesto.
God damn.
The next one. "An unrelenting stream of immigrants to change the racial mix of the country, to reduce political power of the people who live here, and dramatically increase the proportion of Americans newly arrived from the third world."
Tucker.
That's Tucker Carlson. That's Tucker Carlson. Funny how these sound so similar, right? Last one.
Funny how some of Tucker's seem more unhinged than the other ones.
Here's the last one.
Okay.
"We are told that these changes are entirely good. We must celebrate the fact that a nation that was overwhelmingly European, Christian, and English-speaking literally years ago has become a place with no ethnic majority, immense religious pluralism, and no universally shared culture or language."
Some other mass shooter.
That's Tucker Carlson.
Fuck.
Isn't that last one crazy?
That is crazy.
That concludes our little white supremacist or Tucker Carlson test. I think they're one and the same.
Damn. They literally are.
I hope this exemplifies to all of you that Tucker Carlson's rhetoric is literally just one-to-one white supremacy.
Fucking insane, dude. It's just copy-paste. They're all just biting each other's flows.
Yeah, and to say that this shooter was somehow right-wing or somehow left-wing is kind of fucking insane. Very clearly right-wing.
To run defense for the shooter in any fucking way is fucking insane.
Yeah.
God damn. This is the most explicit hate crime, like, in a while. You know what I mean? Because at least when there's an instance of police brutality, while, yes, it's obviously a fucking hate crime, and we on the left know that, people on the right can spin it in ways that, like, look a little bit better. To people who don't usually follow politics. There's no way of spinning this. Like, you just can't spin it. And they're trying so fucking hard. I don't understand.
I can firmly say that this situation is unspinnable.
Why can't these pundits just take it on the fucking chin? Because they're soulless pieces of shit.
Yeah.
But it's like, god damn.
It's because I think if you don't defend it in some way or distance yourself from it, it's some kind of implicit acknowledgement that you and him are basically one and the same.
It's gotta be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people on the left, we can clearly say, like, yeah, this is a hate crime motivated by racism and white supremacy, two ideas that are fundamental to American history and America today, really. The right wing can't say that because they don't believe in any of that, because they are that. They're the reason that still exists. So if they condemn him, they're fundamentally condemning themselves.
Facts.
And they really can't do that.
And
you'll see like Mitt Romney types do it, but like the people further on the right can't do it.
You see like Mitt Romney and Joe Manchin types doing that kind of stuff, you know, both hard on the right, but still
people that fundamentally don't believe in anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But just one last bit on this, right? stop fucking releasing their manifestos. Clearly, the manifestos releasing them to the public just go on to further inspire other shooters. As this guy literally fucking said here, and have we known for a while just with copycat serial killers, stop giving them what they want.
Yeah, the thing with that is, like, I think that these people would find another way to, like, put their thoughts into a manifesto, even if they weren't inspired by others. I think the larger problem is that America really hasn't done anything to repent for its sins of racism throughout history.
Big facts.
And I think that if we had done more in our education systems and more in our way, and more with, like, our economic structures, our political structures to right the wrongs of the past, these things really wouldn't happen.
If we meaningfully fought back against right-wing rhetoric instead of taking them seriously.
Yeah, I mean, you would sometimes still have the occasional fucking freak that does something like this.
Absolutely,
but they wouldn't be emboldened and platformed and legitimized by half of the fucking country. I think it's something like a fourth of everyone in the country that identifies as a conservative believes in some form of white replacement theory. And that's literally just because of people like Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking horrifying.
He's the most popular pundit.
Yeah.
The most popular pundit.
And I think, like, ultimately, of course, we shouldn't be, like, sharing the ideas that are put into these manifestos. It's really bad. We don't want those things proliferating. But I think it's more of the fault of, like, fucking Tucker Carlson.
I think
types.
Tucker Carlson is the bigger issue. Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't mind like excerpts of the manifesto coming out, but why do the 180 pages need to be released? You know, I don't think this one was, which is a little bit of a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing.
Still, like, let's also just get Tucker off the air.
Yeah.
Let's also get that guy out.
I think silencing people that are reaching, like, what is it, like millions of people every night, at least millions of people every night is probably better.
I think it's like,
the country.
I don't fucking know, like 6 million people or some shit tune in all the time.
And for those of you listening that are going to, like, start crying about free speech as soon as we're saying all this, just know that, first of all, no right is infinite. Second of all, if someone like Tucker Carlson is able to talk about white replacement theory and it galvanizes a group of people to go and kill a bunch of black people, those black people no longer have the right to free speech because they're fucking dead.
Exactly.
So rights only extend insofar as you're not going to kill someone using them.
Maybe you should put a stop to people irresponsibly using rhetoric. This isn't even an irresponsible use of rhetoric. This is just a straight up wrong and morally abhorrent use of rhetoric.
Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
I hope you can wrap your head around that one.
In your worldview. I think it's time to move on.
Yes.
It's time to talk about abortion.
Oh, that's a big topic these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so it is a big topic. As you all know, abortion rights have been a big thing because of the leaked SCOTUS draft.
Because the left is trying to distract you from being mad about lockdowns and the COVID vaccine and all the things.
Wow, first it was the abortion news, and now there's a mass shooter. It's like they're trying to distract you. They don't want you to pay attention to the COVID news.
What about Anthony Fauci, huh? Why don't you read The Rear Dr. Anthony Fauci?
Isn't it crazy when things happen? And, like, people start focusing on those things.
Another banger of a quartering take.
Anyway, abortion news. So last Wednesday, as we predicted on the pod, the Senate failed to advance a bill that would codify abortion rights, and the bill was called the Women's Health Protection Act. The bill failed 49-51.
Crazy. Who would have thought?
With Joe Manchin in opposition.
Who'd have thought?
Which obviously comes short of the 60 votes you need to break a filibuster. I absolutely love that 49% of the Senate only votes to support abortion rights, while, like, what is it, 65, 70% of the country supports abortion
70,
rights?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta love that.
Didn't Mitt Romney say he would even, like, maybe vote for this?
If he did, he didn't vote I don't remember him saying that. I don't know.
I could just be talking out of my
I remember seeing a statement from him on Twitter that he was in full support of Samuel Alito's draft, but he was troubled by the leak. He was troubled by the leak.
Okay, that makes more sense.
The act would have made abortion rights essential as a part of healthcare rights, and it would have put in place laws that would prevent states from having, like, more restrictive or bans on abortion rights. So that's not happening now.
I love that we literally just can't do anything about this.
Yeah, I love it too.
I love that for the last 2 years, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema have just been obstructing literally everything they can. And there's absolutely nothing that we could do about it.
Well, here's the thing: is that Joe Manchin, along with two Republicans, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, they provided a more moderate bill.
Susan Collins, the one that fucking was whining about chalk and the sidewalk in front of her house. Yeah. Okay.
Her and Lisa Murkowski, and along with Joe Manchin, proposed a more moderate bill that would outlaw any limits on abortion that place a, quote, undue burden on a woman's right to get an abortion, which, if you don't know, is borrowing some language from KCV Planned Parenthood. Okay. but it was kind of unclear what actual protections it would provide. It seemed kind of more just like an nothing, really.
It's probably we don't really support abortion rights, but maybe we can trick some people into thinking we do.
Yeah. But ultimately, that bill would have failed as well. The vote would have just been 52-48. And it wouldn't have mattered because the Senate is undemocratic. And ultimately, I don't think... Like, I don't even really know why we voted on, or like the Democrats wanted to vote on this bill. You know what I mean?
To save face, like, for everybody talking shit about them never codifying Roe.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I don't think, like, they had 50 years to codify Roe. You know what I mean? And trying to pass some rushed bill in like the 11th hour before abortions are completely banned in this country, or not completely banned, but until there are
until it goes back to the states. Yeah. Thank you.
Until there are no federal protections.
Guys, abortions aren't going to be illegal. It simply goes back to the states.
Yeah, it's trying to pass a bill in the 11th hour right before abortion rights are dissolved fundamentally in the country. I don't think it really has like any electoral impact. You know what I mean? Like, no. I don't think it has really any real impact for the voters. Certainly doesn't have any impact for women.
Who saw that and thought, what person who doesn't usually vote that maybe could be like galvanized to vote by this issue saw like that and thought, yeah, these politicians are really trying? Mm-hmm. Or did they think, wow, they're really trying to just trick me? Yeah. You know what I mean? They're really just going to try to save face. They're really just spitting another worthless platitude back at me, and they think that I'm not going to see through it.
Yeah, and it's like we already knew how people were going to vote.
Yeah.
I guess the only one we didn't know was Joe Manchin, but again, one vote doesn't fucking matter.
We did.
Yeah.
He has pictures at like not anti-life protests. Pro-life protests.
Yeah, exactly. Anti-choice
protests.
Yeah, like I don't really think this vote did anything politically for the Democrats. I really don't think that these kind of votes really do anything anymore.
I don't either.
I guess you could think back to like the war in Afghanistan or like the war in Iraq, like that kind of vote, how politicians all the time call out Joe Biden, like, you voted for the war in Afghanistan, that kind of thing. But like these votes really, like, we know the Republican Party hate women. You know what I mean? Like, it's not convincing anyone.
It's just because everybody knew the fucking outcome of this.
Yeah.
You didn't fucking surprise anybody. You're not putting any pressure on Joe Manchin to do anything. You haven't been putting pressure on him for the last 2 years where he's been doing whatever the fuck he wants.
And it's giving me the same vibes like back during, like around summertime, fall time of 2021.
Yeah.
When everyone was saying like, we need to fix voting rights right now and get rid of gerrymandering to protect the 2022 elections in 2024. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all true. We do need to do
so
that.
True.
But it's the same vibes because it's like, it didn't happen. It's not going to happen. The fight's over.
You didn't have the votes to make it happen. The only time you ever want to like do something like that is when you know it's not going to happen and when it's being done in the Senate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never take this rhetoric to the street and start calling out your colleagues because you have the same beliefs as fucking Nancy Pelosi and you think that the Republican Party should be respectable again instead of thinking that there maybe just shouldn't be a Republican Party because their ideas are bad.
We didn't talk about that last week, but Nancy Pelosi literally saying that she wants a strong Republican Party.
Yeah.
Are you you want a strong party that did an insurrection on the Capitol, very clearly hates women, is very clearly transphobic, very clearly wants to take away gay marriage. Like, you want a Republican Party that's strong?
Yeah.
Like, imagine what they would do if they were stronger.
It's like you may vote one way in the Senate. All the senators may vote one way, but then the Republicans take to the streets and they say, guys, you're literally going to be replaced and it's because of the Democrats. And then the Democrats say, no. Please vote for me.
We need a strong, respectable Republican Party that will say all the same things, but do it a little bit more subtly so we don't have to work very hard.
She literally fucking said, we need the Republican Party to go back to when they cared about a woman's right to choose, and then some other bullshit. It's like, yeah, okay, when they also cared about not passing the Civil Rights Act, when they cared about literally hating anyone who wasn't a white guy.
We need to go back to when the Republican Party did racism, but a lot more subtly, like when they did redlining in the war on drugs. Because then we don't have to work as hard to stop them.
It's like she forgot the party switch happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And of course, the narrative from Democrats here is elect more pro-choice Democrats in the fall.
Vote harder.
Vote harder. Which, yeah, vote, but that's not going to keep clinics open in Republican states.
We voted very hard to get you in this past election. We voted almost as hard as we could, the people who voted, and we got nothing for it. We got the end of stimulus checks. We got the end of unemployment. We got the end of the eviction moratorium. And I understand that those things aren't all necessarily Biden and this administration's fault, but optically that does not look very good. If you want to talk about the game of politics, that does not look very good at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, of course, don't get us wrong. Always go and vote. But at the same time, I do understand why so many people are frustrated and why so many people feel like, we got Joe Biden in, we delivered a trifecta, nothing's changing.
I understand why people are fed up with incrementalists and fed up with electoralism in general. But it's I'm always going to vote for damage control. I'm always going to vote unenthusiastically. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I'm going to be mad about it.
I'm going to be upset when I cast my ballot.
And I'm going to be on the pod talking shit about it.
Exactly.
But I'm still going to do it. The Republican narrative, though, I think is kind of funny. We got to talk about that. So there was a leaked memo from the National Republican Senatorial Committee, which is the committee that is in charge of GOP campaigning in the Senate.
Okay.
And they urged members to, quote, be compassionate consensus builders on abortion policy. While people may have different views on abortion policy, Americans are compassionate people who want to welcome every new baby into the world.
No, they're not. 70% of people are not.
And
you know what? Fuck it. I'm not even pro-choice for pro-choice reasons. I'm anti-life.
For real. They said an example ad for being compassionate, for being a consensus builder would be, here's my view. I'm pro-life, but in reality, forget about political labels. All of us are in favor of life.
No, hold on. I'm using a political label, but forget about all the negative connotations surrounding politics. I'm going to use this political label again.
Yeah, but
I'm going to reinform this political label, but call it something different. I'm a member of the GOP. Words don't have meaning.
It's just funny because the senatorial committee wants them to be compassionate consensus builders. Not a single Republican acts like this. You could not find a single Republican except maybe Mitt Romney saying, I'm pro-life, but let's talk about it. All of them are no, I'm going to control you. Come on.
Jesus
I love it.
Fucking Christ,
I love
dude.
it.
That's ridiculous. Maybe there's one guy running for a state house seat in a blue district that's let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation here.
In some rare good news. Or I shouldn't even say good. I should say decent news.
In some rare news that meets the bar, but the bar is lower than hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good way to phrase it. The Louisiana bill we talked about last week that criminalized abortion and it would imprison women and doctors for getting an abortion or performing an abortion, respectively. That bill was basically thrown out.
Good shit.
Which is good.
Shout out Louisiana.
There was obviously an enormous negative public reaction from basically everyone, including some pro-life groups even, which is surprising. And evil was thwarted just this once.
Wow, just this once until, again, a bill that's just a little dialed back is introduced in Louisiana State Senate in 2 months.
Yeah, when people aren't paying attention anymore and there can't be any public outrage because they're focused on something else.
Exactly.
But don't get me wrong. There's still going to be plenty of bills that are exactly like this.
Don't worry. This just means we're going to talk about Louisiana again in a month or two.
Yeah, exactly. It's it seems extreme, but again, if your belief is that abortion is literally murder, then the logical conclusion is put women in jail.
Yeah, fuck off.
Right.
Fuck off.
Right. But Clarence Thomas.
Oh, did he have some thoughts?
Gotta talk about Clarence Thomas. He had some real thoughts.
Bro's got too many fucking thoughts. Shut the fuck up.
Clarence Thomas was at some kind of law conference over the weekend, right?
All right.
Or this past week, something like that. And he seemed particularly disturbed about this whole abortion fiasco. About the leak.
About the leak. Oh, no. I'm so sad the public gets to know about what we're doing in this public court.
He called the leak an infidelity. And he said, quote, I do
Dramatic
think...
ass motherfucker.
I know. He said, I do think what happened at the court is tremendously bad. I wonder how long we're going to have these institutions at the rate we're undermining them. And I wonder when they're going to be gone or they're going to be destabilized.
Shit, me too.
He said, what we'll have as a country. And I don't think that the prospects are good if we continue to lose them.
Damn, the Supreme Court going away? That's crazy, bro.
Oh, God.
the Supreme Court being destabilized, and we're gonna have to build it back up in a new way. You promise?
You'll get a kick out of it. Listeners, you'll get a kick out of this one. He said after that, that we are that this trend of undermining institutions is something that happens among liberals more than conservatives.
Fuck.
And he said, quote, "You would never visit a Supreme Court justice's house when things didn't go our way. We didn't throw temper tantrums. I think it is incumbent upon us to act appropriately and not repay tit for tat."
I love it. I love it when we just infantilize people who are upset that their literal rights are being taken away. Yeah. And I also love when we ignore all the fucking pro-life, just annoying people that protest outside of Planned Parenthoods literally every fucking day.
Just to harass workers.
Literally.
That aren't even going to do an abortion.
Like, literally that. Literally when you have people in Planned Parenthoods who have to open up mail in a back room that's sealed just in case somebody sent them anthrax. It's fucking insane. Literally, when you have every fucking time I went to an MSU football game, I had to look at like a picture of a dead fetus when people are standing outside the stadium. Pro-life motherfuckers are the most annoying protesters. And I will die on that hill.
It's not even just pro-life. Like he says, conservatives aren't the one throwing temper tantrums. Let's remember back when schools were desegregated. And black kids first started going into high schools and elementary schools and stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were like historically, if we could find any images of black students just being harassed and yelled at by a bunch of fucking white women.
I wonder
as they tried to go to school.
I wonder if amongst those images you'll have to see like 9 black kids being escorted by like armed security just to get into fucking school.
Right. Like Clarence Thomas says this as if the president of the United States didn't have to activate the armed forces to protect black people because white people were losing their minds over a Supreme Court decision.
And you could also look back like a year ago.
Yeah.
Like, you could look back at January 6th.
Yeah.
And see a big temper tantrum there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I love it when conservatives just, they always respect our institutions and expect whatever outcome is produced by those institutions without any temper tantrums.
At least I'm honest about not respecting our institutions.
And just like a little side note, Congress did do a thing. They didn't protect abortion rights, but they did move immediately to pass funding to increase security for Supreme Court justices.
Awesome.
After Brett Kavanaugh had protesters outside of his house.
Awesome.
So that's really
love
fun.
to see it, folks. After they increased Capitol Police funding.
Yeah.
Because they're the heroes that stopped January 6th.
By like millions of dollars.
And they're definitely not the people that just kind of let them in.
Yeah. Yeah, I love just absolutely pearl clutching as you take people's rights away, just explicitly taking people's rights away in the most violent way possible, and then you're like, oh my god, you're outside my house protesting.
Oh my god, that's
you're writing
crazy.
with chalk outside my house.
God.
Like, come on now,
violent looters outside my house. They're gonna burn the city down.
Honestly, let's do it. Like, I'm surprised cities aren't being burnt down right now. Anyways, I think it's time for some midterm talk.
Oh, back to the midterm arc.
Okay. It's time for a little bit of a speed run.
All right.
Because there were some primary elections that concluded, and we also got to talk about friend of the show, Madison Cawthorn.
His primary election is in 2 days?
I think it's
tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.
So first we got to talk about Nebraska.
Wonderful.
So recently Nebraska held their primary elections for governor, and it was a 3-way race for the GOP candidate, for the GOP slot, between Jim Pillen, Charles Herbster, and Brett Lindstorm.
Those sound like the whitest names I've ever heard.
Yeah, yeah, you could say that. Donald Trump, he endorsed Charles Herbster.
Oh.
Herbster. And Herbster lost. He got Trump's endorsement, but he lost. It was actually a really close race, with Herbster only getting 30% of the vote. Jim Pillen got 33% of the vote, and Lindstorm was trailing with 26% of the vote. He probably didn't lose because he got Trump's endorsement, though.
It was still close.
It was still
close. That's crazy.
Still close. Trump's candidate lost, but probably because Herbster was accused of sexual misconduct by 8 people.
8 people?
That could have been
What did he do?
I think he was accused of inappropriate groping and unwanted forcible kissing.
That's so fucking vile. That is so forcible kissing, Brett. That is so vile. Oh my god.
Yeah. So he was accused of sexual misconduct by 8 separate women. So Trump's endorsement couldn't save that.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But that doesn't mean necessarily that the power of Trump's endorsement is fading. Because the Trump-backed candidate in 36 total races, primary races across Texas, Ohio, and Indiana, they all won their primary.
I love it.
So Trump still got some power in the party.
Trump still runs the party.
Trump still runs the party. I mean,
can't wait. When's the PA primary? Is that tomorrow too?
It's tomorrow. That's what I was just about to talk about.
We get to find out if Dr. Mehmet Oz wins tomorrow.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm having this section a little bit, because we're getting a lot of results tomorrow. Okay. Can't talk about them today, obviously.
Sorry,
even if we pushed it back to tomorrow, we wouldn't know, because a lot of the results wouldn't be tallied.
They get tallied by like midnight.
But I'm bringing this up as a little precursor because we get to talk about a lot of results next week.
Exactly. Ooh, cast your ballots. Who do you think's gonna win?
Exactly. Place your bets. That's legal. Place your bets, people.
Guys, in the office, we're turning into a sports booking website now.
We're actually, if you join the Patreon, we're going to be doing some gambling on these elections.
What are the betting odds on David McCormick versus Dr. Oz?
So as we just mentioned, tomorrow, May 17th, Tuesday, the Pennsylvania Senate primary is going to conclude. And we're going to find out who we get on the GOP side. We'll also find out the Democrat, but we don't really care about them right now.
Who fucking cares?
Currently,
some milquetoast candidate.
Yeah, currently in the polls, Oz, McCormick, and Barnett are all basically tied.
Oh, no
Barnett's
way.
coming from behind.
No way.
The one black woman. So we'll see.
We'll see
Very
until
exciting.
they just start racially attacking her.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Definitely. Because she's trying to replace them, obviously.
I wonder if she would be more ahead if Carla, was that the white
Carla
lady?
Sands,
the Trump lady?
Yeah.
If she wasn't there, I wonder if Barnett would be more ahead.
I don't know. Carla Sands, in my mind, had no chance of ever winning.
I don't think she ever had a chance at winning, but the vibes that I got from watching the primary was that she was literally just a spoiler for Barnett.
Yeah.
Because all of her attacks were at Barnett and like a little bit of Oz.
She said, you lost your race really bad and it wasn't fraudulent, but Donald Trump lost his race and it was fraudulent. He didn't lose by 20 points. Anyway, the race I want to zoom in on, though.
Oh, okay.
Is our boy Madison Cawthorn.
Love that guy.
His primary is also May 17th, Tuesday, so the day after this, or the day before this pod comes out. And he's running against a slew of challengers in his primary.
Ooh.
But one of the people he's running against is a state senator, Chuck Edwards. And he is the most basic Republican white man you could ever imagine in your life. Looks like a thumb.
Oh,
He's got the thumb thing going
like
for him.
ex-cop?
No, he's got hair.
Like looks like it. Oh, he's got hair, but
He's
still
got
looks
hair.
like a thumb.
He's
That's
still got
honestly
the thumb
even
look.
worse.
I encourage you to look him up. He's awful.
Okay.
Awful. Chuck, he's basically a nobody. And he's still trailing in the polls by like a pretty substantial amount.
Let me guess. All of their claims to fame are just they got a shit ton of money injected in their campaigns by establishment Republicans who are mad at Cawthorn.
That's actually exactly what it is.
Oh my goodness.
Because,
I'm on a hot streak.
as I was just about to say, Edwards is receiving a bunch of support from the establishment.
Ooh.
Because Madison Cawthorn, of course, exposed the GOP cocaine orgies. And we have evidence of this. It's not even just like speculation theory crafting, because a super PAC aligned with current GOP Senator Tom Tillis has spent $1.5 million on ads, mailers, and other campaign material against Madison Cawthorn.
$1.5 million.
$1.5
That's
million.
crazy. I feel like that's still a little light for like a house race.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends, but like for one house race,
just like right here at the end too, that's significant.
Well, the thing is, like, okay, it's right here at the end. It's one single house race in North Carolina, and it's against the incumbent that has been a devout supporter of the party. That is weird.
Yeah.
And all of the ads are trying to paint Madison Cawthorn as a quote reckless embarrassment and a dishonest disaster.
As a gay guy.
That too.
They're trying to paint him as a gay guy.
Yeah, basically because these attacks, they come alongside what Madison Cawthorn has called the coordinated drip campaign.
That's so fucking hard.
Which is what's going to be the line of our first merch.
100%. Hold us to it because that's the name.
It's going to be the name of our merch line. But he's saying there's a coordinated drip campaign against him where the establishment's leaking information about him to undermine his reelection. And we talked about this a little. We joked about it in the cold open. It's a very serious matter. Or not this cold open, but last week's cold open. So far, we've seen be revealed that Madison Cawthorn, he likes to bring loaded guns to the airport.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We talked about that. We joked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
He likes to be pulled over for reckless driving and driving on a revoked license.
Wonderful.
Massive
we
crime.
love law and order type of people who get on there and preach law and order for black people and then just don't follow
and then
any
break
of those
the law.
rules.
And then break the law. It was leaked that Madison Cawthorn called President Zelensky a thug.
What the fuck?
Which is just out of pocket. Of course, there's that lingerie photo.
Hard.
Where dude looks hard. Looks like he's having a good time. There was Cawthorn being groped by the staffer, and then the ethics complaint about him being gay or being perceived to be gay. There's, of course, Madison Cawthorn humping his cousin nude.
And then the worst offense of all, when he stood up at a Trump rally.
No, that was the RNC.
That was the RNC?
Yeah,
he did it twice?
That was the... did he do it twice?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was... I remember, I think it was the 2020 Republican National Convention before the election. He stood up and said some dumb shit.
He stood up for Trump.
Yeah.
He got out of his wheelchair and stood up, bro. That's the worst thing he's ever done.
See, but that was back when the Republican establishment supported him.
So true.
But he's obviously lost that support.
Damn.
Obviously, Madison Cawthorn, horrible person, horribly homophobic, lied about the 2020 election, all the bad stuff.
Awful. We talked about it a couple pods ago. He's kind of worse than a lot of these establishment guys because he's so young. He actually believes these things. Imagine looking up to Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, but hot take, I'm pulling for him.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%.
I'm pulling for him.
100%.
I'm pulling for him because, while he's pretty terrible.
Especially now that he's made an enemy of the establishment.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And obviously that seat's going to remain red. He's going to fucking win no matter what.
Did you see the thing that, he was, so you know how, redistricting is happening right now? North Carolina obviously getting redistricted. He switched districts to try to run in another one that he thought would be easier. And then the Secretary of State said, no, you got to live in your district. And then he had to switch back to run in the current district. This dude's doing whatever he can to hang on to power. And I'm in full support.
That's crazy. Go Madison Cawthorn. We stand.
Obviously terrible guy, but I'd rather see the GOP establishment get exposed and take an L. Because I think that's funny.
It is funny. It's really funny. It's kind of like how Trump coming back to Twitter is kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, I gotta highlight, it's crazy how Marjorie Taylor Greene and similar Marjorie Taylor Greene types, Lauren Boebert, etc., can go to Nazi rallies and not face any consequences. But Madison Cawthorn one time leaks that the GOP has cocaine orgies.
Something that literally everyone expected of any politician, no matter what.
Yeah, he leaks this, and then the entire party mobilizes all resources to stop him.
Absolutely nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
The only time I ever saw, a story about, Madison Cawthorn talking about the orgy problem is when I saw stories talking about how they're releasing stuff against Madison Cawthorn.
Yeah.
I never saw anyone talk about the orgy thing in of itself.
Yeah, no, in this, even this episode is evidence of that, because we wouldn't be talking about it anymore had they just left it alone. We would have talked about it that one episode, we would have made our jokes, made the episode title after it, and then we would have left it alone because it would have been over.
Maybe an offhanded comment here or there.
Right.
But everybody for the history of politics has been making jokes about politicians fucking each other.
Yeah.
Having crazy sex parties.
Yeah, and now we're doing full segments diving into how this is a hit campaign against Madison Cawthorn.
A coordinated drip campaign.
They should have just left him alone.
Maybe that's the title.
Yeah. They should have just left him alone.
God.
They should have just left him alone. Pulling for him. Solidarity.
Exactly. Solidarity with Madison Cawthorn.
Speaking of solidarity,
you, comrade. Ooh.
Speaking of solidarity.
Excellent transition. We're going to be talking about Starbucks, baby. So, as about 50 Starbucks stores nationwide unionized and 230 more file petitions to unionize, the Starbucks CEO, Howard Schultz, announced that they would be expanding benefits, right? These benefits include, but are not limited to, expansions to training that, people wanted. I don't know exactly what they are, but anyway, people wanted them. Improved sick leave, always a good thing. Student loan refinancing.
Right.
Fantastic, kind of. And enhanced credit card tipping. Some more money in your pocket.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Something everyone wants.
Exactly. But these changes are going to be coming to every store except the ones that unionized.
How is that legal?
That's what I said.
How is that legal?
That's literally what I said when I read it. I had the fucking bug eyes when this shit came out. I said, boom.
Bro said, boom.
I said, what the fuck?
How is that not just blatantly union busting?
That's what I'm saying.
How does that not flag
right?
every antitrust law that we have on the books?
Literally. Fucking literally, right? All right, so let's get into it. The CEO justified it by saying that it was actively illegal for them to offer new benefits to a store that's in the middle of the collective bargaining process. But the legality is obviously very fucking ambiguous because when a store unionizes, the company has an obligation to bargain with them.
Yeah.
So any change that they want to implement, they have to bargain with the union to get implemented.
Right.
That's how unions work. But you would think a change like this, everybody is going to support. obviously. It's fucking union busting.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
clearly the unions would approve these unilateral changes. Clearly they're not going to say, no, we actually want less. Let's bargain a little bit here.
Yeah.
They're going to take what they can get. That's why they unionized in the first place.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, spokespeople from Massachusetts Starbucks unions and the Buffalo Starbucks unions came out and fucking said straight up, the things that they're implementing are things that they've been asking for years.
I believe it.
And things that the union explicitly campaigned on.
Yeah.
So what the fuck?
No, it's very clearly just them offering benefits to non-unionized workers as a way to say fuck you to the union and also to encourage workers to not unionize.
Oh, yeah.
It's just union busting.
They just want to dissuade the people in the 230 stores that are actively in the process of getting a vote together from voting.
If this isn't evidence that capitalists are deeply afraid of unions and the power that unions have, then I don't know what is. Like,
No,
it's like, it's bitch shit. Like, this is bitch shit. Like,
this is bitchless behavior.
Literally.
This is bitchless behavior, Howard
like, you're
Schultz.
a coward. Coward Schultz.
And it's just like, even expanding on that part, in response to all this bitchless guy, Howard Schultz, said, quote, compare any union contract in our sector to the constantly expanding list of wages and benefits we have provided our people for decades, and the union contract will not even come close to what Starbucks offers. My brother in Christ, God. You are in fucking the restaurant business. Less than 1% of workplaces are unionized in the fucking restaurant business. There's no good union contracts in general.
Yeah.
Maybe that speaks to, you know, employers not offering good things and the general sentiment that is unions are bad floating around America, rather than Starbucks being a great place to work.
Yeah, if you look at NLRB statistics for the last few years, you'll notice that there's been a massive spike in unionization campaigns.
Like recently.
Yeah,
like
recently.
within the last year, because before that, it'd been on the decline.
You gotta wonder why all of these changes are coming right after a bunch of Starbucks workplaces have attempted to unionize.
Yeah.
Like, why is it that you're only willing to cede ground when you can undermine workers trying to get more power over their workplace?
What a fucking coincidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He could literally just extend the olive branch to the unionized facilities and say, hey, you guys want these?
Yeah.
My bad. And then they go, yeah, we want these.
Yeah, why would you? And
that's it.
Because if this was like a good faith thing that you're actually trying to help your workers, then you would be like, yeah, like the unions can have these as well. I just got to negotiate with them to make sure it's okay.
Exactly.
Like, that's all it would be.
Because that's literally all you have to do. You just have to bargain with them. That's fucking it. That's the point of the law.
Because dude came out and announced that this is going to happen for everywhere, for every Starbucks workplace except the unionized ones.
Yeah.
Like he said it. He owned it with his chest.
Apparently in store meetings, like in meetings with managers in like January, he said, hey, just letting you know, like, if you do unionize, maybe these benefits won't come to you.
Yeah, it's a threat.
He's intimidating them. He's intimidating them. And he also, in a shareholder meeting, like last Tuesday, he said that this union buzz isn't because of anything Starbucks did, but rather it's due to other events in workers' lives, like the Great Recession and the pandemic. My brother in Christ, you're the one responsible for how they handle these things.
Yeah.
You're the one that's putting money in their pocket. You're the reason why when the economy goes down, they feel it because you don't pay them shit. They don't have the benefits they need.
I love how conveniently capitalist bosses can always be like, oh yeah, like we're a family, we take care of each other until there's like a major crisis. And then they're like, well, you're feeling this way not because of me. Exactly. They're like, this is not my responsibility.
This is not my responsibility at all, even though I'm the one who's solely responsible for putting the money in your pocket.
Yeah.
Like, you guys see the connection here, right?
And that's the thing is, like, fundamentally, in the workplace, the bosses, the capitalists, they have all of the power. They want to claim all of the authority, but they don't want to have any of the responsibility of taking care of you. And they will blame all of your struggle on outside factors or just like you not being responsible, you not working hard enough. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, they're children. They're children.
Obviously, Starbucks has a fucking hand in all of the fucking bad shit that happened to people over the pandemic. It's part of their fault. You know what I mean? You guys got to see the connection here. But here's another thing. Throughout the whole unionization process, this guy has continued to say that actually outside forces have been coming in to disrupt the company.
That's always the argument.
It's just like what Amazon said when Amazon was like, guys, we're a family. Don't let anybody come into this family and break us apart.
Yeah.
It's literally union busting 101. It's fucking ridiculous,
the
right?
main narrative that capitalists and bosses always push is like, well, we're a big family and you don't want to let anyone else come in and disrupt this family. That's just their way of excusing them treating you like fucking kids, like children.
Yeah, because that's what you are.
They're the
We're
parent.
family, and I am the parent. And this is an authoritative parenting style.
Right. for most people, like, think about how your family structure works.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you don't get a say in much of what happens. It's your mom or dad telling you what the fuck you're going to do.
Exactly.
So them saying that you are a family is just them saying, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do and you're not going to have any say in it.
It's a low-key self-report.
Yeah.
It's a low-key self-report, right?
Just analyzing these structures, analyzing these
Let's go
mythologies.
right here, head in the office. The cogs are turning. You know how it is.
That's what the head stands for.
Oh, exactly.
Nothing else.
So true. So true, bestie. And this dude also came on and said in an interview that he's heard stories of workers bullying people into not voting if they were going to vote no. And he said, look at the low voter turnout. That's why. It's because other workers are bullying people.
Good.
It's not because maybe they didn't care. Mm-hmm. Maybe they just didn't care either way it went.
Or maybe it's because your company was actively getting them to not vote.
Yeah, it's because you actively have to paint the people who just want better for themselves as literally evil.
Yeah.
He made comments saying that, here it is. Last month, he said, companies all over the place are being assaulted by the threat of unionization.
That's just like peak Red Scare.
I know.
That's just peak Red Scare.
Fucking insane.
It's like workers like, maybe we deserve a better workplace environment, better conditions. We deserve some better pay, better benefits. And this guy's like, no, you're fucking evil. Mm-hmm. You're destroying this family and you're threatening people with the threat of unionization.
Yeah.
That's violence.
Especially at places like Starbucks where people come in and they're just dickheads.
And it's like, dudes like this hold all of the cards. Like, dude's a multimillionaire, if not a billionaire.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you complaining about?
It's like
You're getting mad that people that are making like $12 an hour want better for themselves while you hold literally all of the cards.
Dude also came out and announced that there was a pay raise that they announced in October of last year that legally has to apply to every store, but I'm sure if it didn't legally, he wouldn't apply it to the union stores. That raises everyone wage to at least $15 an hour, and if they were already there, they get like a 3% wage. But he also came out and said that any future pay raises weren't coming to the unionized stores.
How, like, that should not be legal.
You can't do that. You can't fucking do that.
I don't think it is legal.
Oh, yeah, no, they filed complaints with the NLRB.
Yeah,
there's like 3 complaints.
Like, well, first of all, openly union busting. It's immoral already, but openly union busting, and if we don't have a government that's willing to enforce these rules, like, Jesus Christ.
But another thing that I was reading is that the penalties for doing this shit are so little that companies literally don't fucking care.
Yeah, we just need to make them. You know what I mean? Like, the government needs to come in and fucking make them.
I just need to have my my Anakin and Attack of the Clones moment.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to go in there and forcibly make them.
No, but like, unironically, why can these corporations get away with doing literally anything?
I completely agree. These penalties need to be strict and they need to be harsh. Because they're just gonna abuse them no matter what. It's kind of indicative. It reminds me of the what was the CEO in like December that fired like
Michelle
half
Garg?
of his, yeah. It kind of reminds me of that whole situation.
Better.com?
Dude is just completely out of touch. Just nothing. Just hey, we're one big family.
And like I've seen that Biden said to support unions, he's not going to give out any government contracts to companies that are union busting.
Yeah.
But like for Starbucks, that means what? They're not going to get to have stores on military bases now?
They're not going to have a store on an Iraq military base?
Right, exactly. Like that's not, I mean, it's going to hurt their bottom line, sure. But at the end of the day, that's like a free market solution.
Yeah.
Or that's a solution that adheres to or bends to the free market. And Starbucks is obviously already dominating. So it's like we need to engage in some strategies that will challenge their power rather than just like kind of carve our way out of it.
But it's even like,
I don't know.
Individual stores here and there don't hurt Starbucks' bottom line. There's this really interesting thing I read like a couple months ago about how Starbucks actually operates and how they make their money. And it's kind of like how every big fucking company doesn't actually operate as what they say they are. Like Starbucks is like a food retailer, right? They sell coffee and shit. They operate like they're a bank.
What?
It's fucking insane, right? Because of the gift cards and their app.
Oh.
They actually have more money on hand than most banks do, like at any given time. Because they kind of operate like a bank with the gift card system. Now everybody just gives each other Starbucks gift cards, they upload it to their app, and Starbucks just has all that fucking money.
Yeah.
You read up on it, because I'm obviously paraphrasing, and it's been a while since I read it. But it's like, you know?
You have the audacity to say that you can't give like, I don't know, how many stores are unionized now? Like 200? Like,
50.
Like, oh, yeah, you 50. You can't give, like, I don't know, maybe 300 workers a pay
out of,
raise.
like, thousands of stores.
Like,
50.
You're such a child. Like, some people finally have the courage to stand up to you and say, like, we deserve better working conditions, we deserve better pay, better benefits, and you're going to be like, okay, I'm not giving you anything.
Yeah.
Like, that's so, oh my God.
Shut the fuck up.
You're such a child.
Shut the fuck up.
And
absolutely bitchless.
Like, side note, on some authoritarian shit, if you are, economically super powerful, like Starbucks is, right? Like, you're the CEO, you have all this economic power, you have all the playing cards in your hand. The playing field is entirely shifted in your favor.
Facts.
And you can't keep your workers happy enough for them to not unionize. You're just bad at being a fucking tyrant.
On God, bro. And then when they do unionize, you have to gaslight them.
Right.
You have to gaslight them. Like, actually, no, if you look anywhere else, it's going to be even more shitty.
Like, I've never understood this. It's like, long term, the best solution would just like to be nice to them and give them what they want.
Exactly. Just appease them.
That's what would make it so they don't continue to act radical. Like, that's what would get them to negotiate and calm down and stop protesting against you and making you look bad in the public eye, is if you just, conceded and we're just like a normal fucking person.
We're better capitalists than you are.
Right.
We're not even capitalists, but we're better capitalists than you are. It's like how libertarians say that social safety nets are the riot tax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It keeps people, like, social safety nets, they keep people at bay. You want them fed just enough so that they aren't starving, but you want them starving enough so that they can't do better for themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how capitalists ideally want to operate. You're not even meeting the bare minimum.
Right.
Your workers are starving.
That's the thing, is like, okay, most of the people that are advocating for unions that work at Starbucks aren't going to be like devout socialists like we are. You know what I mean? Like, they're not communists. They're not reading theory. They just want better pay.
Yeah,
and if
as they should.
And if you just paid them more, gave them better working conditions, listened to them, made them feel like they were being heard, then they wouldn't be so radical. Like, you're the reason people are becoming radicalized.
Yeah.
Like, if you just calm down and listen to them and helped them out and tried to be a bit more collaborative, they wouldn't push back against you so much.
If you
you're doing this to yourself.
To invoke the words of my favorite SCOTUS Justice, Clarence Thomas, you're throwing a temper tantrum right now.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're throwing the game.
You're throwing the game. They really are.
Goofy shit.
Ridiculous.
On
bro.
God.
I think that wraps it up for today's banger of an episode.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed.
I really do.
I hope it was a good one for you. I hope you feel caught up on the news now.
Exactly.
But before we go,
you know what we have to do.
You know what we have to do.
Every single week.
We have to give a special thanks to our financial backers, our angel investors.
Of course.
The people that keep the show afloat.
People that keep the lights on.
Exactly.
The people that bought these lights.
Exactly. So special thanks to Cricket Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki Nine Lives, Caden Kraut, Terrence Nicholson, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Talia Katz, 40% Spite, Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, John G, The B-Plot, Clayton LaForte, Ash Fairblood, Mark Yeager, Sarah McRoberts, Derek Messina, Dylan B, Satan's Menstrual Cycle, The Mind Sculptors, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Jim Bobs, Carl D, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Meyer, Maldonado, Hunter W, and my mom. Thank you all for supporting the show on Patreon. You're literally you're the best ever.
You're the best ever, and we've got that. I started working on the merch today.
I saw him.
I'm prototyping a little bit. I'm figuring out what works and what doesn't. We might have maybe a mug option. Maybe like a shirt option. I'm trying to work my way through that. Maybe like a hat.
Yeah.
Maybe a little tote bag. Maybe that you could pick from. I'm thinking like
Gage earlier sent me a sneaky peek.
I did.
I won't reveal any details.
I did,
but it's looking pretty fire.
I'm thinking maybe the deal is we DM you all on Patreon and you say like which option you want and then we just send it to you.
Look, you're a patron. If you're a patron, we thank you.
You get it.
You're the only reason that this podcast can survive, that we've gotten these upgrades.
Facts.
And if you want to be a part of that, elite crew. The crew that we're thanking right now.
If you want to get in on the next Patreon goal, which don't know what the fuck it is.
We'll come up with it though. If you want to get in on that, become a patron.
You know what to do.
Patreon.com/headintheofficepod.
Don't forget to hit us on all our socials. If you're going to stay this late, if you're going to do 100% watch time on the episodes, you might as well extend that a little bit. Do some extracurriculars during the week, like the regular week, and hit our Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Like and share our tweets.
You know, if you're still here, you like the show, you might as well go to the description and you might as well get into the Discord, check out the Twitter and the TikTok, etc.
You know what to do.
So hope you liked the episode and we'll see y'all next week.
Have a great week.